Hey guys, we're back at it again with another algorithm video, this time working through freeCodeCamp's intermediate JavaScript algorithms. And so I'm just going to start with the first one. This is sum all the numbers in a range. And so you can see here, basically you're given an array with two different numbers, and you should sum all the numbers between them. And so if you think like, for example, 1 and 4, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 is 10. And so you should get 10 even if the numbers are reversed. It should account for that. And so I'm going to go ahead and work through this. So one thing I want to do is return an array at the end, right? So I'll say uh, range array. I'll just name my new variable that. So I'm going to end up putting all of the numbers in that range in here so I can then reduce them. So I'm going to leave that there for now. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I want to loop through this range, right? So I'm going to say that the index is going to start at the beginning of the array, assuming it's the smallest number first, right? So we'll deal with that in a second. But as long as it's less than the second number plus 1, right? Because if we didn't have the plus 1, we would stop looping right before we got to the end, and it should include the last number. And so that's why we want that plus 1. And then we increment each time. And then each time we loop through, I'm just going to push whatever the number is that's being incremented each time, push that to the array, and so we can then reduce that, right? So I'm going to say that I want to return this array. I'm going to reduce. If you aren't familiar with reduce, my favorite documentation source is MDN, so you can read about it here. Essentially, you give an accumulator value and a current value, and so I'm just going to represent those by A and B. And actually, since there's two parameters, right, I need parentheses around that, and then return A plus B. And then we give it 0 as an initial value. So each time it's going to add the current value to what came before. So let's go ahead and run this and just see what's going on. So I've got 3 passing tests out of 5, and we can see that 4 and 1 should return 10, and 10 and 5 should return 45. So what's happening here is I'm not accounting correctly for the fact that the bigger number can come first, right? But I feel good about the rest of it. So I'm going to go ahead and deal with that. There's quite a few ways to do this. I'm kind of doing this on the fly a bit, and I'm sure there's much cleaner ways. So if you have a maybe a clean 1 or 2 liner, then please comment and let me know. I'm learning just as much as the next person. But this is kind of one thing you lose with freeCodeCamp and even HackerRank as opposed to like a Code Wars. For me, one of the big values of Code Wars is getting to see how all the other people that have solved the algorithm solved it. Because usually there's some very elegant solution out there, and with this you just don't get to see it. So if someone knows a better way, then please let me know, right? But for now, I'm just going to say that I want to destructure the array more or less, right? So I'm just going to have A and B variables, and which are distinct from the reduce down here, right? It's just easier to remember that way. And then the first array value is going to be A, the second array value is going to be B, and that will make it a little bit easier when we do this, which is that if the first value is indeed bigger than the second value, then I'm going to go ahead and flip them around. So I'm basically just forcing it to be smaller number first. Like I said, I'm sure there's better ways to do this, but for now, I'm just going to proceed doing it this way. So b being the smaller number in this case, right? I'm going to assign that first, and then force the bigger number to be second. So let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. And we pass. So that is summing all the numbers in a range. I would love to know what you think, how you solved this, what a more elegant way is, because if you can do things with fewer lines, I think that's generally better. So thank you. Hope this was helpful, and please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.